We need to talk about the silence.
The silence. That's an ominous way to start a Tuesday.
Bear with me. I'm talking about the silence that comes after the noise, and you know the noise I'm talking
Oh,
about.
I think I do.
It's the confetti cannons, the press release, the CEO standing on a stage, backlit by some massive screen, announcing, "We are now an AI-first organization."
Right. Everybody claps.
Everybody claps, the stock ticks up for a few hours, the tech blogs write their pieces, and the project is officially launched.
Ah, yes. The big launch, the red ribbon moment, the popping of the champagne cork.
Exactly that. We all know that moment. And it feels like a finish line, doesn't it? It feels like a victory lap.
It's designed to.
But today, we are doing something a little different. We are digging into a strategic framework by Jafar called Leadership V2, and specifically a concept in there he calls the continuous steward. And the core argument here is going to sound, well, a little counterintuitive. We are going to argue that the big launch is a dangerous illusion. In fact, the source material suggests it might be the single biggest blinder for leadership today.
It is, and it's a blinder because the big launch implies that the event is the work. You flip the switch, the model runs, and then you walk away.
Job done.
Job done. But the danger, the real systemic risk, it isn't in the noise of the launch. The danger is in the silence of the Tuesday morning, 3 months later.
That is the specific image the source uses.
I loved it.
The quiet Tuesday.
Right. Because on that Tuesday, what's happening? The legal team has moved on to the next crisis. The engineers are already looking at new tickets.
The PR team is writing the next press release.
Exactly. The spotlight is gone, but the system is running, it's optimizing, it's making, thousands of micro decisions a minute, and no one is watching the dashboard because the assumption is
It launched. It works.
it works, and that's where the rot sets in.
And that is where we're going today. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are effectively doing a leadership audit. We're pivoting from looking at the tool, the models, the tech stack, the parameters, to looking at the hand that holds the tool.
We're exploring this evolution from the gatekeeper to the continuous steward. And frankly, if you are leading a team or, even just navigating a modern organization, this analysis is probably going to make you uncomfortable.
In the best possible way, I hope.
Well, we'll see. It depends on how attached you are to your current management style, because the central premise here is that we have to stop acting as gatekeepers.
Explain that. What's a gatekeeper in this context?
A gatekeeper just decides if the door opens, they stand there, they check the ID, they open the door, and then their job is done.
Right. They've granted access.
A steward is responsible for what happens in the room forever. It's a totally different mindset.
So to get there, we have to start with the nature of the beast itself. The source material makes a really, really critical distinction right off the bat about the personality of artificial intelligence. We tend to project a lot onto it. We think it wants to help us, or it wants to take our jobs, or it wants to be efficient.
We anthropomorphize it. It's just human nature, isn't it? We see a face in the clouds. We see intent in the algorithm. But Jafar is brutal on this point. AI has no intent.
None.
It is not good. It is not bad. It is math.
It calculates, it optimizes, it executes.
Precisely. And because it lacks intent, it cannot share the moral burden. This is the heavy part. This is the part that I think leaders don't fully grasp.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. If a human employee messes up, let's say Bob in accounting makes a bad call, there is shared agency. Bob made a choice. We can talk to Bob.
We can understand his reasoning, flawed or not.
But if an AI destroys your pricing structure or biases your hiring, it didn't choose to do that. It just executed the logic you gave it to its most extreme logical conclusion.
Which means the weight of consequence. It sits 100% on the human leadership.
There is no buffer. You cannot blame the calculator for the math error. And to help us visualize this immense responsibility, Jafar uses two metaphors that I think are just brilliant. They really help frame the stakes.
Okay.
The first one takes us all the way back to the cave, the campfire.
This one really grounded the concept for me. When we think of fire, we think of, the dawn of civilization.
It was the original transformative technology. I mean, stop and think about what fire actually did for us. It cooked our food, which changed our biology and allowed our brains to grow.
It gave us light, which extended our day and allowed for culture and storytelling to develop.
It kept the predators away. It was safety. It was warmth. It was community.
But, and there is always a but.
But fire is a chemical reaction that consumes. A careless spark burns down the forest. Now, does the fire want to burn the forest? Is the fire evil for burning the village?
No, of course not. It's
Yeah.
just physics.
It just consumes fuel. It follows the laws of physics. It doesn't have an agenda.
So the maturity of the civilization isn't about the fire itself. The fire is the same, whether it's in a stove, cooking dinner, or burning down a library. The maturity is about the hand holding the torch.
Exactly. Now, let's apply that to the gatekeeper versus the steward. The gatekeeper says, permission granted to build a fire here.
Right. They check the box.
They strike the flint, get the flame going, and they say, job done. We have fire. Look at the light. Innovation.
And then they walk away to the next cave to light another fire.
And if you walk away from a fire, one of two things is going to happen. Either it goes out and you freeze, or it spreads and you burn.
There's no stable, unattended state.
None. The steward understands that the launch of the fire is almost irrelevant compared to the maintenance of the fire. You have to decide every single minute how hot to let it burn.
That's the shift. It's not a static decision. In the corporate world, we treat deployment like lighting the fire and then, going to lunch. But the steward has to constantly calibrate. Is this consuming too much fuel? Is it getting too close to the tent? Has the wind changed direction?
It's an active, ongoing relationship. But the source material escalates this because fire is actually a pretty generous metaphor.
How so?
Fire is relatively slow. You can smell smoke. You can see the glow before the house collapses. You have some time to grab a bucket of water.
Do you have a chance to react?
You do. Which brings us to the second metaphor, and this is where the anxiety really kicked in for me reading this, the missile.
Specifically, the fire and forget missile. This is a military term.
It is. The idea is you lock on, you fire, and the technology takes over the guidance. It adjusts its own path to hit the target. The pilot doesn't have to steer it anymore.
And we love this in business. We are obsessed with this idea. Set it and forget it.
Passive income, automated workflows.
We want the missile. We want to press the button and have the result happen automatically while we do something else.
We do. We say, optimize our hiring for efficiency, launch. But here is the problem the source identifies, and it's a big one, the acceleration problem.
The speed of consequence.
Think about the old world for a minute. Let's say you had a bad policy manual, a physical binder that said, don't hire people from this university, or price our products at exactly this margin.
Sure, a bad but static rule.
That's a terrible policy. But how long does it take for that binder to rot the entire culture of a global company?
Years. I mean, first of all, nobody reads the binder.
Right.
Then you have friction. You have human buffers. Managers might ignore the binder because they know it's stupid. HR might lose the paperwork. People are lazy, or they're smart, or they're just slow. All of that protects you from your own bad ideas.
Exactly. You have time to notice. You have time to say, hey, our talent pipeline is drawing up.
Yeah.
You can change the binder, but AI removes the friction.
All of it.
You deploy a dynamic pricing algorithm on a Monday. It scales to every single customer touchpoint by Wednesday. It has fundamentally restructured your market positioning by Friday.
And by the time you realize, wait a minute, we're losing our most loyal customers because the price is too high, the damage is done.
It's worse than just damage done. This is a phrase from the source that it chilled me. The system has healed around the flaw.
That's a terrifying phrase.
Yeah.
Healed around the flaw. What does that mean in practice?
It means the organization has already adapted to the mistake. Let's say the AI maximized short-term revenue by screwing over your long-term partners. Well, your sales team has now been reorganized to chase those short-term leads because that's where the numbers are.
Your bonus structure has probably shifted to reward that behavior.
Your bonus structure, your supply chain, has cut ties with the old partners because they weren't optimal. The whole organism has reconfigured itself around this new, flawed logic.
So you can't just send a memo saying, oops, my bad, go back.
Yeah.
The old structure doesn't exist anymore?
Correct. Reversing it isn't a policy change. Jafar calls it structural surgery. You have to cut the system out of the organs of the company. And surgery is painful, it's expensive, and it always leaves scars.
Okay, so this leads us to the central thesis of the framework. If the big launch is an illusion, and the missile moves too fast to correct later, what on earth is a leader supposed to do?
You have to redefine what a launch is. This is the whole concept of the micro-launch.
I highlighted this section 3 times. We tend to think the launch is the day we turn it on. But the source argues, no, every single day is a launch.
Let's unpack that.
Yep.
What does a micro launch look like on a Tuesday afternoon? It isn't a press conference. It's boring. It's mundane.
Right.
It's a manager staring at a dashboard. The AI flags an exception, say a loan application that is technically solvent but looks weird to the model for some reason.
Okay.
Manager's busy, they're tired, they want to go home, they click reject.
That click, that was a launch.
That was a launch because they just reinforced the trajectory of the missile. They taught the model, yes, reject people who look like this. Or maybe they changed the threshold. Let's lower the fraud detection sensitivity by just 1% to get more approvals through.
That's a launch.
That is a launch. Every single KPI you prioritize in a weekly meeting. Every time you tell a team, don't worry about those edge cases, just focus on the core speed.
You are steering the missile.
And these micro launches are happening thousands of times a day across the entire organization, usually by people who don't realize they are steering the ship.
They think they're just doing administrative work.
They think they're clearing a queue. They don't realize they are programming the operational logic of the corporation in real time.
So the CEO launched the missile, but the middle managers are steering it, often blindfolded.
Exactly. So decision quality can't just be about did we ship it. It has to be a continuous discipline. And the source actually breaks this down into 4 specific dimensions that we need to talk about. These are the analytical pillars that a continuous steward has to watch.
These 4 pillars are the audit. So if you are listening to this and you run a system or you work within a system, I want you to mentally check your reality against these 4 points. This is the systems discipline checklist.
Let's dive into Pillar 1, compounding effects, specifically second and third order effects.
I love talking about orders of consequences. It makes me feel like a chess player. But seriously, explain the chain of causality here for us.
This is systems thinking 101, but AI just puts it on steroids. The first order effect is the sales pitch. It's what you put on the slide deck to get the budget.
Right. Efficiency, cost reduction, speed.
We implemented this tool, and now we write code 50% faster. Great. Champagne for everyone. First order achieved.
Success.
Right. That's the first order. But the steward asks,
Yeah.
what happens next? That's the second order. Behavioral change. People adapt to the new reality, to the new metric.
Okay.
If the machine writes the code, what are the humans doing? Well, maybe they stop reviewing the code as carefully because the AI is usually right. Maybe they start to lose their intuitive grasp of the underlying logic.
And then the third order, institutional shift. The culture itself changes. This source gives a devastating example here, the hollowing out of apprenticeship.
This one hits hard for anyone in a professional services field: law, coding, consulting, even journalism. Imagine a big law firm. Historically, how does a junior lawyer learn their craft?
They do the grunt work. I mean, they read the most boring contracts imaginable. They summarize case files for hours. They look for typos. It's tedious. It's painful. But that's how they learn the logic of the law. They learn by osmosis through the drudgery.
Exactly. It's reps. It's like weightlifting for the legal brain.
Yeah.
You build muscle through repetition. Now you bring in an AI. It does all that grunt work instantly and perfectly. It summarizes the case. It flags the risks. It writes the boilerplate.
Productivity soars. First order effect.
Rah.
Massive success. The partners are thrilled.
Of course they are. But the junior lawyer isn't doing the reading anymore. They're just polishing the AI's output. They are skipping the gym.
So 5 years later,
Mm-hmm.
what happens?
You have a gap.
A huge gap.
You have a massive competency crater. You have no senior associates because your junior associates never got the reps in. They don't have the deep-seated intuition that only comes from reading 1,000 bad contracts. You have hollowed out your entire talent pipeline.
You destroyed the mechanism of learning in the name of efficiency.
And that's a third order effect. It didn't happen on day one. It happened quietly, day by day, as you reinforced and optimized for speed and forgot about development.
And if you only look at the quarterly report, you look like a genius for 5 years. Then suddenly your firm collapses because no one knows how to actually practice law without the bot.
It's a silent killer. And another example in this pillar is diversity of thought. This one is a little subtler, but just as dangerous.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right. If you have an AI hiring model and you tell it to optimize for likelihood of success based on your past data,
It's going to look at who was successful in your company in 2015 or 2020, and then it's just going to try to find more people exactly like that.
correct. It creates a clone army. It narrows the funnel. It filters out the wild cards, the people with weird, nonlinear backgrounds who might be geniuses. The AI sees them as risk.
The people who didn't go to the 3 right schools. Risk.
So over 3 years, Your company becomes a monolith. Everyone thinks the same. Everyone approaches problems the same way. And you lose your innovative edge. You become brittle.
So the takeaway for this first pillar is, if you are only measuring the immediate gain, you are completely missing the long-term distortion. You have to ask, what are we losing in the margins?
What is the invisible price of this efficiency? That's the question. And sometimes the price is the future of your talent.
Which flows perfectly into pillar 2, cultural rewiring. The source has a maxim here that I think should be on a billboard in every corporate lobby in the world.
I know the one you mean.
Systems shape people faster than policies do.
It's the truest thing in management. You can write a value statement that says, we care about craftsmanship. You can put it on a poster in the break room. You can have the CEO talk about it in the all-hands meeting.
But if your performance management system, your AI system, measures and rewards pure speed,
The speed wins every single time. The poster becomes invisible.
it's just wallpaper.
AI rewires incentives with brutal efficiency. Let's look at customer service. This is a classic battleground. You deploy a bot to handle, say, 80% of calls.
Okay, that sounds pretty standard.
And you tell your human agents, okay, the bot handles the easy stuff, password resets, balance checks. You humans are now freed up for the complex emotional problems. Take your time, be empathetic, connect.
That sounds like a good strategy. Let the humans be human. That's what we want, right?
It is a good strategy if you change the metrics. But what if you still measure those human agents on average handle time, which is a pure speed metric?
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
The bot took all the easy 30-second calls off their plate.
Exactly. So the only calls left for the humans are the 20-minute nightmares, the really difficult emotional conversations.
So the agent's average handle time goes through the roof. It looks like they've suddenly become incredibly inefficient.
And if the system flags them as inefficient because their calls are long, what are they going to do? They are going to panic.
They're going to rush the grieving customer. They're going to cut corners. They're going to try and get them off the phone because the system is screaming at them to be fast, even if the policy poster on the wall says, be nice.
And they burn out because you've put them in a classic double bind. The system demands one thing. The stated culture demands another. The system always wins because the system signs the paycheck.
It's almost like you have to actively defend the soul of the company against the relentless optimization of the machine you built.
You do. That is the steward's job. Because the machine doesn't care about the soul. It cares about the variable you told it to maximize. If cost reduction is the dominant metric, then a human stopping to think, stopping to be creative, or stopping to show empathy looks like inefficiency in the data.
It looks like friction.
And systems are designed to eliminate friction. They want to smooth everything out. So the continuous steward has to stop and ask, what behaviors is this system rewarding? And what behaviors is it eroding? You have to audit the incentives, not just the outputs.
This is a much deeper level of management.
It has to be.
Okay, let's move to pillar 3. This one is tricky, and I think a lot of people fall into this trap. It's called the normalization of irreversibility.
This is the boiling frog problem, but for corporate strategy. In decision science, we often talk about type 1 decisions and type 2 decisions.
Right. I think Jeff Bezos popularized this. Type 2 is a two-way door. You walk through, you don't like what you see, you can just walk back out. It's easy. Low risk.
And type 1 is a one-way door. You walk through, and the door slams and locks behind you. You are stuck with the consequences.
So you have to be very, very careful before you walk through a type 1 door.
Exactly. And the problem is, almost all major tech implementations are pitched as type 2. Let's just try this new tool. It's a pilot. It's an experiment. If it doesn't work, we'll just turn it off.
We'll just revert to the old version. Famous last words.
That's the lie we tell ourselves. The source argues that daily optimizations, those micro-launches we talked about, can slowly calcify a system. What starts as a type 2 experiment becomes a type 1 structural pillar without anyone ever signing a document to make it permanent.
Can you give us a concrete example of how that happens? How do we accidentally lock the door and throw away the key?
Supply chains are the classic, perfect example here. Let's say you turn on an AI to optimize your logistics. On day 1, it starts routing trucks a little differently, changing suppliers dynamically to save 2 cents here, 5 cents there.
It's just making small tweaks.
It alters inventory levels in real time. It's working great. The numbers look fantastic.
Saving money, saving time. The dashboard is all green. The CFO is very, very happy.
But 6 months later, you realize something's wrong. Maybe the AI is prioritizing suppliers who are cheap but deeply unethical. Or maybe it's routing trucks in a way that is physically breaking the drivers, causing massive turnover.
So you say, okay, this is bad. let's stop the AI, we'll go back to the old way.
Why can't you? Just pull the plug, right?
Which can't.
You can't. Because in those 6 months, you fired the human dispatchers who used to know the routes. Their institutional knowledge is gone. It walked out the door.
You probably ended the contracts with your old, stable suppliers because the AI said they were inefficient and they've moved on to other clients.
You might have even sold the warehouse space you thought you didn't need anymore because the AI was so brilliant at just-in-time inventory.
The infrastructure is gone. The physical reality has changed to fit the model.
You have hollowed out all of your redundancy. To turn the AI off now means rebuilding your entire logistics department from scratch. You have locked the door and thrown away the key. You are now a hostage to the system you built as an experiment.
So the discipline here isn't just a pre-flight check. It's checking for reversibility continuously.
Yes. Every week, every month, you have to ask, can we still unwind this? What would it take? And if the answer is no, or, well, it would cost $10 million in a year to unwind, then you are not running an experiment anymore.
You have changed the fundamental structure of your business.
And you better be damn sure it's the structure you want to live with.
Which brings us to the final pillar, pillar 4, shifting accountability, or as the source calls it, the drift.
This is the one that keeps general counsels and chief risk officers awake at night. AI accelerates leverage. We know this. It allows one person to do the work of 10 or 100 or 1,000.
That's the upside. That's why we buy it. We want that multiplier effect.
That's the upside. But the risk profile that comes with it is very specific. Concentrated upside, distributed downside.
Break that down for us. What does that mean?
When the AI works, who gets the credit? The leader gets the bonus. The department head gets promoted. Look, I improved efficiency by 40%. The upside is concentrated in the P&L statement and in executive compensation.
All right, it's easy to point to who's responsible for this success.
But when the AI fails, when the credit risk model is found to be systematically biased against a certain demographic, when the automated trading algorithm accidentally creates a flash crash,
Who pays?
the market pays, the customers pay, society pays. The downside is distributed. It's spread out so widely that it's hard to pin on any one person.
It's the classic privatize the gains, socialize the losses scenario, but on a technological level.
Exactly. And the critical question a leader must ask constantly is, if we are wrong, who pays? And here's where the drift comes in. The answer to that question shifts over time, almost invisibly.
How so?
Initially, on day one, the project lead feels responsible. I built this, I'm watching it like a hawk. But as the system scales and becomes embedded, it becomes just the way we do things. That sense of personal responsibility diffuses.
It becomes background noise, just part of the furniture.
And if it fails 2 years later, people say, oh, that's just the algorithm, or that's just the vendor's model, or I didn't code that part.
It becomes a ghost machine. Everyone benefits from it, but no one is truly responsible for it.
And that is a recipe for catastrophe.
Yeah.
If you cannot name the specific human being who is on the hook for the system's output today, then you are already deep in the danger zone. Accountability requires a face and a name.
These 4 pillars, the compounding effects, the cultural rewiring, the normalization of irreversibility, and the accountability drift, they really paint a picture of a job that is never, ever done. It's not a checklist you complete at launch. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of being for a leader.
It's a discipline, and it's a discipline that's required because of the theme we need to discuss next. The source calls it strength without pause.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
We said earlier that AI has no intent, but the source describes its personality, for lack of a better word, as unforgiving.
It is unforgiving because it is a faithful, tireless amplifier. Think about a massive concert amplifier,
Yeah.
the biggest stack of speakers you've ever seen. That amplifier does not care if you play a beautiful Mozart concerto into the microphone or if you just drop the guitar and it makes a screeching, horrible feedback noise. It just makes whatever you give it LOD.
AI is the amplifier for organizational logic.
Yes. If your logic is optimized for cost, the AI will faithfully amplify that logic. It will remove cost. It will not pause to ask, wait, is this cost actually a human being's livelihood?
Is this cost actually a critical safety redundancy?
It just executes the logic you gave it to its absolute conclusion. It doesn't have common sense. It doesn't have a sense of proportion.
And it does it without pause. This is a key point. A human manager might say, hey, We've reorganized this team 3 times this month. Everyone is stressed out. Let's give them a break. Let's let the culture settle for a bit.
The AI will reorganize them a fourth time at 3 a.m. on a Sunday if the data says it's 1% more efficient to do so.
It doesn't care about institutional resilience. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't need a vacation.
No. And this is the core point. Strength without judgment is dangerous. The AI provides the strength, the raw processing power, the speed, the scale. But the AI cannot provide the judgment.
So the human isn't there to provide the muscle anymore. The human is there to provide the brakes, the conscience, the context.
Correct. The human must provide the continuous judgment. And I love the phrase the source uses here. It says judgment is not a checkpoint to be passed. It is a continuous obligation.
And continuous obligation.
He even compares it to a subscription service.
A subscription. I like that.
You have to renew your subscription to judgment every single day with your attention. If you stop paying attention, if you stop making the payments, the judgment expires, and you are left with raw, unguided strength. You are left with a missile that has no guidance system anymore.
Wow. A subscription to judgment. I'm going to use that. It really frames it as an active cost. You have to pay into it with your attention and your time.
Exactly. Attention is the currency of stewardship. You pay with attention to buy safety and sustainability.
So we've covered the risks, the metaphors, the 4 pillars. Now let's do the audit. The source calls this the operational and philosophical audit. It starts with a statement that I think defines our current era. The crisis isn't that AI exists, it's that execution has become cheap while consequence remains expensive.
That is the defining tension of the 2020s. Think about the past. Doing something big was hard. It cost a lot of money, it took a lot of people, and it took a lot of time. If you wanted to reorganize a global supply chain, you needed a team of consultants and 2 years and a massive budget.
That friction was a natural filter. You really had to think about it before you did it, simply because it was so hard to do.
Exactly. The difficulty protected you from your own worst half-baked ideas now. You can spin up a global service via an API in an afternoon. You can change the pricing for 1 million people with a single line of code.
Execution is cheap. Experimentation is frictionless.
But the consequence, if you mess up, the reputational damage, the bias lawsuits, the operational fragility, and that is still incredibly expensive, maybe more expensive than ever because of how fast bad news travels.
So when execution is cheap, restraint becomes the premium skill.
Yes. Intentional restraint, the ability to say, we can do this, but should we? And not just asking it once at a gate, but asking it every single day as the system evolves.
The source contrasts old leadership V1, if you will, with leadership V2. Old leadership was defined by adoption speed.
Right. Who can get to the cloud first? Who can get the AI first? Move fast and break things.
And new leadership V2, is defined by sustained judgment. It's defined by the courage to course correct before entrenchment.
It's defined by auditing your micro launches. It's defined by maybe move fast and fix things.
I want to ask you, our listeners, to just pause for a second. If you are a leader, or even if you just manage a small team, ask yourself this question honestly. Are we mature enough to wield this? Not just once, but repeatedly, day after day.
That's the question. We are handed a torch that can burn down the entire forest. Are we watching the flame, or are we just happy and proud that we got it lit in the first place?
It really changes how you look at your daily dashboard. It's not just a collection of numbers. It's a trajectory.
Yeah.
You aren't just checking stats. You are checking the flight path of the missile.
It is. And to synthesize everything we've talked about today, we started at the campfire, realizing that stewardship is about managing the heat, not just celebrating the spark. We looked at the missile, realizing that its speed creates a fire-and-forget trap where we lose control before we even know it's gone.
Then we broke down the 4 dimensions of the audit. The compounding effects that hollow out critical skills like our poor junior lawyers, the cultural rewiring that changes our values like our burned-out customer service agents.
The normalization of things we can't reverse, like our gutted and brittle supply chain. And the drift of accountability, the ghost machine that everyone uses but no one owns.
All leading to that core realization. Culture is the hardest system to unwind. It's the most irreversible system of all.
You can rewrite code. You can buy new servers. You can hire new consultants. But once you have rewired your culture to value speed over craft or efficiency over empathy, getting that back is a generational struggle. And AI impacts culture faster and more deeply than any tool we have ever seen.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. The next time you look at your systems, your dashboards, your algorithms, your automated workflows, don't look at them as static tools. Look at them as active flows of logic. They're like rivers that are carving canyons through your organization every minute of every day. And you are the one steering the current.
And you have to steer it every day. You can't retire from the wheel. The subscription is always due.
Before we go, I want to read the final verdict from the source material, because I think it summarizes this entire deep dive better than we ever could.
AI is strength, but strength without continuous structured foresight is not innovation. It is accelerated risk propagation. Acceleration without direction is not progress. It is drift at scale.
Stay tuned, stay curious, stay systemic.